For some reason, I started thinking about the many lies that surround us. And I'm pretty sure that everything is a lie now. I think it's come full circle. I made a list on the screen here: health lies, relationship and marriage lies, cosmology lies, nutrition and diet lies, religion, voting, climate, war, LGBTQ, financial, electric cars, animal kingdom, ecology, environmentalism, morality, energy consumption, bloodline, royal bloodline, terrorism, crime. They're all really narrative. They're all just shrouded in lies, or all of these things now. It's total. So I think probably this is why something will now change, thanks to the internet, I suppose, really. Because a few people have spoken out and people have started to realize what's going on, or to get a glimpse of it at the very least. I think the narrative is very much promoted through television series these days, online content on Netflix and this sort of thing. They're very subtle forms of communication. You see, the trouble is that we don't understand signs and symbols, and we don't understand how deep conditioning operates and how it's so skillfully used. You have to kind of see it somehow. You have to attune your vision, and it's down to us men to do that, because we have a keener vision than women, really. It's our responsibility to protect the camp, and we've failed in that because our women have been enticed by strange and alien ideas and have been estranged from us. I have a confession here. I watch an Australian series called Neighbours, and I've been watching it now for about 6 months, I think, or perhaps for longer, because there's so many episodes available on Prime, and I really enjoy it. I like those sorts of things on video because I'm not watching the surface level, shall we say. I mean, I am to some extent, but the stories and the plots are just so ridiculous that it's hardly worth much attention. But yeah, I'm so interested in the way that things are depicted in that series. And in all television series, really, the only pleasure is that I'm able to they've obviously made so many episodes of it, because there's about 200 every year. And I've started in 2013, and there's about 200 or 250 episodes every year, and they last about 20 minutes each. And there's some good acting as well, I would say cautiously. I do enjoy the craft, but when you start to look at the genders being portrayed, I think it's pretty clear, as in all series. I think you will perhaps begin to wonder, what's really going on. I don't know. I mean, I suppose they're women. You can't be misgendering people, can you? These days, it's not considered polite. But they feed a relationship narrative in that series, and in all others, really, leading people astray always. The relationships are always extremely taut and unloving, actually. And the people involved, as the title suggests, they're neighbours, and they are the most tremendous busybodies, interfering in one another's business. with the with the stated intention of doing good, but in actual fact just being absolute wretches. And that's how goodness is portrayed. And it's still portrayed like that today, because if I were to go up to the Methodist Church and with a breathing tube and a stick and be coughing and everything, those Methodist ladies would be down at my house as before you could say Jack Flash. They'd be down here, solicitous, helping me out. Is there anything we can do for you, Mr. Smith? I know it. That's how it operates. So it doesn't do to be showing any weakness in the face of this sort of scenario. But there are people who it's as though they see morality the way that it's depicted in this soap opera, which is absolutely a fairy story, thankfully. But people then reproduce it. So in these stories, they have, different character types. There's the good guy, who's just simple but extremely good looking and very honest, and the sort of person that you'd want to be friends with, And he's just depicted as this very fit, young, affable fellow with a kind of a local country accent, I think. Not highly educated, but a proper gent, really. And he's one of the baselines. And then they'll bring in always one person who sees, who has understanding. There's one or sometimes even two people with understanding in the series and in various episodes. And well, there's one that's a constant, and they are depicted as being socially unacceptable sorts of people. They are just, they have some trait, some obsession that makes them undesirable companions, and they behave in the most atrocious ways from time to time. But they see when they speak the truth. It's curious the way that they do it and how they depict those people. But of course, this is men, and they are depicting the alphas of the society. That's what they're attempting to do, but at the same time, destroying them by slandering them and making them making a mockery of them. That's how they do it. But the regular people just live absolutely desperate lives of, attempting to appease one another and interfering with one another's business and having no idea of what's happening in the realm of relationships. I mean, really, it's extraordinary. And so those narratives are being pushed, and then at a certain point they had recently the Anzac Day memorial. Okay, that was an important point. And so that was a very somber moment, and they played that the last post bugle song, which I've always quite liked. My father used to like it, and it's very, very atmospheric, and everybody was standing to attention, and it was dusk, and so on and so forth. It was a moment of patriotism and allegiance to the Australian military. And they have these moments regularly in the series, and it can involve the police as well. There's seems to be a high level of fealty always displayed, particularly also towards the medical system. So when vaccines were distributed, everybody went and had one and joked about it, and they were doing their duty. Everybody, even the people that weren't nice, reluctantly went and had their jabs. And also when it was a question of giving blood, all the good people went. The less good people didn't go, but all the good people in the series went along to that, to give the blood. And then the absolute submission to the dictates of the healthcare system by everybody involved. Anybody who doesn't submit to that, you're going to be either eliminated or be forced effectively to submit to it, and then everybody will say how great it was that you did it, even though they did cut off your arm and your leg. But this happens. I mean, I met a guy when I was walking yesterday, or no, 2 days ago, I think, and he said to me, he said, "I'm an Eastern man," he said. He was a little older than me, I think, and he had a Toyota Supra in front of the house, in very poor condition, I would say, and he claimed he could get £20,000 for it in that instant. But he wasn't going to get £20,000 for it from me. I mean, I think the Supra is nice. I'm a fan of the Ferrari killer. Don't get me wrong, but I suppose maybe it's become one of those extremely expensive motor cars. I think it's quite likely. He said there's only 3 in Britain. Is that true? I really don't know. But we got chatting, and of course, I'm talking about food and all the rest of it, and health. And he pointed I could see that there was something wrong with his throat. There was like a big square patch had been cut out, probably, I don't know, about 3 inches square or 2 inches square perhaps, at the side of his throat. And then you could see that the skin had been stitched back into place, and there was kind of a weird bulge. It looked very unnatural, and it didn't look very pleasant, really. I mean, to have this terrible wound in such open vision. I'm sure that they will have told him that they saved his life, But I mean, of course, I was talking to him, and I had to be said, look, we have to be careful. And he was of the same opinion as me after having had the procedure. He seemed to be very unhappy about it and very uncertain of the way that the whole thing had been conducted. It's just tragic that these things are happening when all he had to do was eat the right food and go for a walk. That's our health, because God has given us perfect health. God is perfect, and if we are His children, then our health is perfect, and not without afflictions, of course. Such is our life. But it's just tragic, is it not, that these sorts of travesties should endure in really the earthly realm. I'm really outraged to see such things, but ultimately, I mean, the man was ignorant. This is the problem. That's why Proverbs urges us to seek after wisdom. It really is our only task in this world, to seek after wisdom. That's the first thing that we must seek in every circumstance, and everything else will follow. God bless.